From BuzzFeed News, the victims of violence during the Kenosha protests are suing Facebook, citing a law that dates from Reconstruction. 4 people, including the partner of a man killed during the protests, are taking the company to court. And almost immediately I thought, what a dumb waste of time. Section 230 will not allow this. And that may be the case. But the DOJ has just dropped their official guidance. The Justice Department unveils proposed Section 230 legislation on behalf of the administration. We've already heard this. The announcement's already been made. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. They previously announced they wanted clarification of the language and among other things. So they've drafted proposed legislation of things they think should change relative to Section 230. For those that aren't familiar with what 230 is, it basically shields these companies from liability based on what other people do, but gives them the ability to remove posts they find objectionable, so long as they're acting in good faith. Well, these tech companies, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., they have removed things that are not objectionable. They have removed things to protect their political interests. There's a name. There's actually a couple names I can't say. Now, we often know about the one CIA whistleblower guy. He's the guy I usually reference. There's another name I can't say. Kid you not. And my videos have been removed in a very strange way. You'd think that if you did something in violation of the rules, you'd get a guideline strike. Well, saying one of these names isn't against the rules. There's no rule saying you can't say a name. So what do? One day I went into my YouTube studio and there was a video that had no links, no buttons. You could see the video, you could see the title, you could see the view count, but nothing else. And when I moved the mouse over it, none of it was a link. It looked like an image, like it wasn't really there. I couldn't interact with it. The video basically did not exist. And it's because I said a naughty name. Section 230 doesn't protect these companies from things like this. You're not supposed to remove me talking politics. So now we have this lawsuit. I'm actually glad the lawsuit is happening for a couple of reasons. This is people, they're blaming Facebook, saying that Facebook allowed the Kenosha kid to organize with his friends, and they get a lot of this information incorrect. But what this lawsuit is doing is it's challenging 230. To what degree does Facebook have the right to moderate their content? Now, this lawsuit doesn't strike at the core of what needs to be struck at, so I think it's going to be a big waste of time for everybody. But I guess you can say it's good news for Kyle Rittenhouse. His lawyer is happy about it. When asked, Lynn Wood, an attorney for Rittenhouse, called the lawsuit nonsense, saying, quote, "As to Kyle Rittenhouse, this lawsuit is errant nonsense, but may provide a golden opportunity for obtaining documents and sworn testimony from Facebook to bolster Kyle's future defamation case against Facebook for falsely accusing him of mass murder," Wood told BuzzFeed News, referring to Facebook's decision to designate the incident a mass shooting and remove Rittenhouse's account and any content celebrating his actions. Thus, I view the lawsuit as a blessing in disguise. Facebook and other defendants did not immediately respond to a request for comment. I'm curious, why does Facebook think that most people would prefer to oppose Kyle Rittenhouse? Let me tell you something. Facebook knows when you poop. I know you're laughing. It's a funny thing to talk about, but it's true. I was reading an article about this because they know when you're moving around because of your location services on your phone. They know what time you typically eat because they've built a profile around you. Every day at this time, they go to this area. It's typically lunchtime. Their algorithms can track all of this stuff. Their AI is smart. If they know exactly what you're thinking, why would they side against you? Unless this is a sign that Trump will not landslide. You see, Facebook has the data. They know what people think, and they're trying to protect their bottom line. Thus, by doing this, you can sort of see through the thin veil. What is it? Most Facebook users were shocked and appalled and don't like this. So Facebook said, get rid of it, right? And if most Facebook users feel that way, doesn't that symbolize or show us that Donald Trump is going to lose because, well, we all may be on the wrong side of history? I'm going to stop there and say that's actually not the case. You see, Facebook removed this likely because of other countries. And now we start getting into the interesting conversation. You see, I have often complained about this idea that Kyle Rittenhouse was banned from Facebook, not convicted of any crime. He wasn't convicted of anything. Why remove him? Why is it that Kyle Rittenhouse can have his ability to speak on a platform removed, but some Australian guy can complain about Donald Trump and call for action and launch petitions? They're interfering in our elections. It's that obvious. That's okay. Since when have we decided that it's okay for foreign citizens to hold protests in our country against our politicians? Think about it. If a bunch of Australian people came to America and started protesting Trump, would we just be like, that's totally fine? I mean, maybe. It's kind of weird, though, but I'm sure something like that happens. But what if they stayed here, always influencing? Well, then you've got real problems. No, I'll tell you something else. The top content shared on Facebook comes from Ben Shapiro. Oh, man, I'm a little jealous. I'm like, wow, he owns Facebook, basically. I got to get on that Facebook game. I'll tell you what, I don't do the same thing he does. I mean, we both do podcasts. His is way bigger than mine. But, he's got Daily Wire content, articles, and the top content is consistently conservative and run by Ben Shapiro. I think what we're seeing here is Facebook bending the knee to foreign governments. Why would he designate Rittenhouse a mass shooter? Because of the dainty little governments of these more left-leaning European and Commonwealth countries. And that's it. Blanket statement. We're banning it. People don't want to see it. That's fine. Our audience says no. But do Americans say no? That's the more important question. And I have to imagine, for the most part, Americans aren't saying no. Americans are saying there's no way this story's legit. Why? Well, take a look now at Joe Biden's polling and the way he's been reacting to the riots. Panic. Desperately trying to hold off Trump because the riots are backfiring miserably. He won't call out Black Lives Matter by name. But I think we're starting to see it's almost like a Sudoku puzzle where we can see the numbers and we're putting the pieces together. Facebook is beholden to a global audience. So they adjust their rules accordingly to adhere to the lowest common denominator of a global audience. However, in the U.S., Ben Shapiro Daily Wire content, Fox News, and conservative content dominates the platform among Americans. And Joe Biden is desperately trying to disavow the riots. Thus, actually, I think we're looking at a Trump landslide. The previous segment, I went over this data from NBC News, a little slider bars showing that Trump only needs a couple percentage points more support in order to win. Don't you think the riots have done that? Don't you think the riots that have been going on now for 4 months have convinced people we've got to stop this? Now, Trump's the one offering help to stop it. And the Democrats are the ones who are standing down and defunding the police. So Donald Trump says, look at this video, look at this photo. In Joe Biden's America, this is what you will get. And the lefties laugh, and some conservatives say, but Trump, you're the president now, and those videos are from your America. What do you think's going to happen if you elect Joe Biden and other Democrats who want to defund the police while these riots are happening? Are the rioters simply going to be like, yay, Joe Biden won, we're no longer Marxists or communists? No, they don't like Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a means to an end. He's bending the knee, quite literally. There's a photo of him bending the knee. There's some rumors that during the debate, he's going to walk out and take a knee on stage. People are begging him to do it. Please do it, Joe. It'll be terrible. Joe will lose. I think we can see that Joe Biden has bent the knee to the far left, figuratively and literally, and the far left wants this. So if you're upset about the riots, well, then don't vote for Joe Biden. Now, I'm getting a bit off track. How does this pertain to Section 230, the lawsuit? I don't think it'll actually do anything. I think the lawsuit is ridiculous, and I don't think Facebook is under obligation to remove things. And so this challenge won't fly because Facebook will not be held responsible for what other people post. Facebook is a private platform, as it were. You can't have it both ways, though the Justice Department is trying to make certain changes because there's censorship on these platforms. In the end, lawsuits like this can't work. Now, the far left, the leftists, the Democrats, they want to get rid of 230. Oh, you know it. You know why? Because they want to force these companies to ban hate speech. So conservatives, don't let them do it. I haven't read through the exact language of what the bill they're proposing. I read through the actual Justice Department announcement about 230 reform, and they make a lot of really good points. They've talked to a lot of groups, and it's about reform, not removing. Trump has called for removing it outright. That would be the end of conservative and independent media as we know it. That's not what we need to do. We need to change it so that these companies can't remove things unless they're illegal. And that's basically what we're seeing with this lawsuit. They're demanding that Facebook actually take this stuff down. If the left gets their way and Section 230 is completely revoked and Facebook is held responsible for what this guy did, It's the end of conservative media, because Facebook's then going to start taking down anything that may result in violence. I mean, that could theoretically be the end of the far left too, but I really doubt it. And therein lies the big problem. Are we going to get what we want? Are we going to be paying attention? Or will Facebook eventually just use this as a pretext to give the left what they want? And that's the point I was bringing up in the beginning. You see, Facebook is beholden to a global audience. And these countries around the world, they're authoritarian. We don't want to live like them. We're lucky enough to have a constitution. But hate speech is illegal in the UK. Facebook will likely err on the side of banning what they call hate speech. I guess we can only wait and see how this plays out. But the most important thing is that you all go and vote in November for the Republicans. Isn't that crazy? I was talking to a journalist earlier, and he was like, you used to be a liberal. I still am a liberal. I'm still all about regulating big corporations that are violating the public interest. That's not conservative. I mean, for the most part, it's not typically conservative, but you get the point. I'll leave it there. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes. Stick around, and I will see you all shortly.